Hey, 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 happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Tonight is Thursday, June 6th, 2019. It is episode 313 of The Daily Dope. Do want to mention, today happens to be the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings in Normandy. And gotta say, if it weren't for millions of brave men and women in the Allied countries fighting to free Fortress Europa, or basically shatter Fortress Europa, things would be a lot different these days, and probably not for the better. See The Man in the High Castle on Amazon Prime. Of course, there's some science fiction in that with alternate universes and stuff, so I don't think we would have had the alternate universes. Anywho, this is a live show, so if you're watching live on YouTube, chat is available. So if you'd like to say hello, or maybe you have a question, or maybe there's something about Cyberpunk 2020, the second edition from our Talsorian Games that you would like to get a closer look at, because I am going to take a first look and page through that tonight, by all means, chime in. Now, I do want to point out, chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to the chat. So if you chime in, I will respond. Of course, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you like it, by all means, please subscribe. And of course, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com, which is my home website, which has a lot more stuff on it than what you find here on the Daily Dope. Of course, tell a friend. In fact, try to tell 2 friends. Yeah, help spread the word. I am in my 9th year of doing this. So, yeah, 9 years of covering tabletop games. So, hopefully we'll be at Origins next week. Fingers crossed, things are still looking a little bit up in the air. But do want to get into some news tonight, and then discuss a few other things, and then we will actually jump on into the look at Cyberpunk 2020. Doing something a little bit different tonight. Usually, I will do a first look at a role-playing game, because it's Thursdays. I love doing role-playing games, so Thursdays are devoted to role-playing games. So normally what I do is I take a first look, and then I provide a review. It's usually a few weeks later for that RPG. Now, Sammy Juhas, who does the RPG PDF reviews for me, already has her review ready to go for Cyberpunk 2020. It is actually going to be on site tonight. So once I actually get the show posted, it's all rendered, I will share Sammy's review. I am going to touch a little bit on some of her thoughts while we're doing a page through. I am not going to steal her thunder, though. I am going to just share a little bit of info about that. Unscripted and Unchained RPG review has arrived. How's it going, you and you? Or W's? You and you? I don't know which one we want to do. But yes, welcome aboard. Good to see you. So as I mentioned, I've got some news tonight. I know there are some folks out there who are not fans of the tabletop gaming news of the day. Don't know why. I mean, they go check out websites. They go to thegaminggang.com in droves to check out the news. I don't know why they don't like it necessarily on the show, but if you are one of those minority, please look in the show notes below. There are going to be timestamps you can skip right past news and right on into the page through. Anyway, first off, big news today from Wizards of the Coast and Larian Studios, makers of the Divinity series, which is awesome. And there is going to be a Baldur's Gate 3, and I've got the dope. And I don't know why I suddenly got my Wednesday advertisers popping up there. That was a little strange. So, Larian Studios is proud to announce that they are developing and publishing Baldur's Gate 3 on PC and Google Stadia. Created in close collaboration with the Dungeons & Dragons team at Wizards of the Coast, Baldur's Gate 3 is based off current D&D mechanics and spells and is the official new chapter in the legendary series. Baldur's Gate 3 will push the boundaries of the RPG genre and offer a rich narrative with unparalleled player freedom, high-stakes decisions, unique companion characters, and memorable combat. It is Larian Studios' biggest production ever and will be playable together with friends or as a single-player adventure. Baldur's Gate means so much to so many people. It's a great responsibility, but I think we're ready for it, said Sven Vinke, creative director at Larian Studios. We're all about creating reactive, systemic worlds that respect player agency and having a chance to apply our team's skill set in a universe as rich as Dungeons & Dragons is a lot of fun. We're working very closely with Wizards to bring an unprecedented level of immersion to the realm of Faerun, and I can't wait to show the world what our team cooked up. Partnering with Larian, a studio that combines a remarkable history of critically acclaimed titles with a genuine passion for one of the most iconic locations in Dungeons & Dragons, has been a terrific experience, said Chris Cox, president of Wizards of the Coast. We believe fans of the Baldur's Gate saga, and even those new to the series, will be thrilled to step into this epic story. Larian Studios plans to work closely with the global community to bring the coveted series to life, and more news will follow over the course of the year. There is a teaser video. It's a little less than 2 minutes. It doesn't show any gameplay or anything like that, but I did think it was kind of cool, so let's take a peek. There is no word yet on when Baldur's Gate 3 will be released, but of course, stay tuned. As soon as I know more, you will know more. And I'm pretty pumped. I was in PC gaming when the original Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 came out. Played the hell out of both of those. Really, really loved them. And Larian Studios, as I pointed out, is the studio behind the Divinity series, which is excellent. Original Sin was really, really good. So when they say this is the biggest project they've ever worked on, there's going to be a lot to it because their games are packed with gameplay. We're talking like 60 hours to play through the single player experience. So this should be pretty cool. Although that video throws me off. Is that how mind flayers are created? I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, I'm almost positive that's a mind flayer in the video. Don't know. I don't know. But yes, kind of weird. Kind of bizarre. Okay, moving right along. Next news piece. Druid City Games has a new title. It's arriving this August. I'm taking a guess it'll make its appearance at Gen Con. I've got the dope on Sorcerer City. Almost makes you feel like David Bowie should like kick in, Sorcerer City. So before I jump into this, you says after what happened with Sword Coast Legends, I'm skeptical. Yeah, I don't know. If Larian has more to say about it than Hasbro has to say about it, I think we should be in pretty good shape. Anyway, on to Sorcerer City. Every year, Sorcerer City gets built and rebuilt in magically new ways, with blocks moving and rotating in crazy directions. You and your fellow players are rival wizard architects in charge of building the same city district over 5 years, expanding it and rebuilding it to gain the most money, influence, magic, and victory. Money. Unfortunately, Sorcerer City has a bit of a monster problem, so you must work hard to mitigate the effects of marauding creatures who attack your city district. The wizard architect with the most victory points at the end of 5 years will be crowned the new head wizard of all of Sorcerer City. Every player starts Sorcerer City with a set of tiles, and each round you have 2 minutes to build your city as optimally as you can. In between rounds, you buy new tiles to add to your pool and gain other rewards. Beware though, monsters are lurking and will be added to your deck, no doubt adding some chaos to your plans in the following rounds. After 5 rounds, add up all the victory points to see who is the master sorcerer builder. Sorcerer City is for 2 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays at around 45 to 60 minutes, will carry an MSRP of $60 when it arrives in August. So it looks like when we get the one slide that pops up that shows all the components to the game, looks like there's quite a bit going on here. I like tile games. I don't know. I'm one of these Carcassonne kind of fans, which is funny because I'm not really a puzzle game fan. But yeah, I like tile laying games, so this one might be one to watch. So, do want to point out that Stormforged Games has their Critical Role miniatures ready to arrive in September, and I've got the dope. Working in collaboration with the Critical Role cast, Stormforged Games has designed and developed an exciting range of high-quality miniatures that bring the legendary heroes of Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine to life. Perfectly scaled for role-playing, these PVC miniatures come fully pre-assembled and ready to paint and play right out of the box. Critical Role is a weekly live-stream role-playing game set in Exandria, which is the world created by veteran voice actor and dungeon master Matthew Mercer. Each week, Matthew, I thought most people just call him Matt. Anyway, each week, Matthew leads his friends, also fellow voice actors, on epic adventures. The first Critical Role campaign centered on the ragtag group of heroes in... Okay, so, time out. I'm going to point out I do not watch Critical Role, so when I mispronounce these character names and that, cut me a little slack. The first Critical Role campaign centered on the ragtag group of heroes in Taldoria, known as Vox Machina. Machina? No, it should be Machina. Kind of like, Machina. What am I thinking? Vox Machina. Yeah. Hey, at least I'm now pronouncing that correctly. Pike Trickfoot, the gnome cleric. Calith, the half-elf druid. Percival Percy Frederickstein von Musel Klauski de Rollo. Whoever came up with that name needs a slap. The human gunslinger. Grog Strongjaw, the Goliath barbarian. Scalin Shorthalt, the gnome bard. Vex Alhelia, and her animal companion, a bear named Trinket, the half-elf ranger. And Vax Ildan, the half-elf rogue. First campaign ended in November 2017 after 115 episodes and 373 hours of gameplay. Now Critical Role is in their second adventure campaign, in which the Mighty Nine, N-E-I-N, begin their adventures together in Wildemont. The Mighty Nine consists of Yasha, the Asimir barbarian, Beauregard, the human monk, Mollymok Tea-Leaf, the tiefling blood hunter, Fjord, the half-orc warlock, Not, two T's, the Brave, the Goblin Rogue, Jester, the Tiefling Cleric, and Caleb Widagast, the Human Wizard. I believe it's Shakasti, a human cleric, has proven himself to be a trusted ally of the Mighty Nine. These two sets of 8 miniatures each will be available starting September 23rd, and each will carry an MSRP of $40. Gotta point out, $40 for 8 miniatures, that's a pretty good deal, especially the set that's got the bear. The bear looks like a pretty large miniature. Only thing I would be a little bit concerned with is its PVC plastic. PVC plastic tends to be pretty soft. But Steamforged does do games with miniatures. They are used to making miniatures. I am going to have to assume that these will be pretty solid. The sculpts look great. I have to point out the sculpts do look pretty cool. All right, let's get into some role-playing game news, because the latest supplement for the 5e-based Pugmire role-playing game is up for crowdfunding, and I've got the dope on Pirates of Pugmire. The deck of the Wet Nose was abuzz with activity. The crew desperately adjusted sails, pulled ropes, and turned wheels. There's a little more to that than a little more to sailing a ship than just turning wheels. Anything to try and steer the course of the ship away from the looming thick fog sitting dead ahead of them. Captain Pug calmly walked among the crew, staring at the fog when she wasn't barking the occasional order. Eventually, the blue sky took up more and more of the view. Noctis returned to his captain, who was still staring ahead. "Ma'am, shouldn't you be happy? We've cleared the fog." "We have, but you've forgotten one thing." At that precise moment, the water all around the ship started to boil. The acidic water splashed onto the desk. Desk? It should be deck there, folks. Spell check there, guys. Irritating the eyes and skin of all the crew as they tried to figure out what was going on. Noctis ran to the side of the ship and stuck his head into the spray, shielding his eyes to get a better look. He caught a glimpse of something dark and rubbery slithering under the water before it disappeared again. Then he heard a loud, keening wail, and a giant squid-like creature lurched out of the water in front of the ship. Its tentacles waved menacingly in the air as it reared up, as large as the ship itself. Captain Pug stared calmly at the monstrosity. "You forgot the Kraken, number one." The main goal of this Pirates of Pugmire Kickstarter is to enable Onyx Path to create a hardcover edition of the Pirates of Pugmire book compatible with the other Realms of Pugmire core rulebooks, such as Pugmire and the monarchies of Mao. We want to create a 7-inch by 10-inch hardcover with an evocative, action-packed cover image and a Pugmire and Mao inspired cover design. We estimate the book to be between 150 and 200 pages, with a full-color interior and end papers on high-quality paper stock. Exceptional funding may allow us to add stretch goals that further develop the setting and add additional materials for play, including further depth to the 2 new playable species. We also want to get at least 1 print run into traditional distribution and available for sale at game and hobby stores. Onyx Path does have a video. It's a Kickstarter video. This one runs a bit longer than what we're used to seeing. This is about 3.5 minutes. So let's take a look to see more about the Pirates of Pugmire. All right, what's going on? It didn't start.
Avast, me hearties! Get ready to weigh anchor and set sail. I'm Eddie Webb, and I want to talk to you about Pirates of Pugmire. It's a chronicle source book for both Pugmire and Monarchies of Mao. Pirates of Pugmire is usable with either game or as part of a joint experience. The source book is focused on sailing in the parts of the world around what is known as the Acid Sea. The Acid Sea is well named, as exposure to the water slowly dissolves wood and metal over time. With the advent of the plastic hull, however, dogs and cats, and even lizards and birds take to the sea to explore, seeking new shores and facing unknown dangers. Life on the sea is different than life in the relative safety of the kingdoms and monarchies, though. Sailors must face the dangers of hunger, starvation, or becoming hopelessly lost and adrift while the plastic hulls of their ships slowly melt into uselessness. Large portions of the acid sea remain unexplored and uncharted, denying pirates the guarantee of a safe journey home. If treasure is found, there's always a hostile crew or two lurking on the water, lying in wait to raid rival ships. And monsters such as twisted corpses animated by the unseen haunt the waves. Some of the highlights of Pirates of Pugmire include rules for playable lizard and bird characters, 6 new callings, rules for sailing and fighting on the Acid Sea, new equipment such as gunpowder weapons, a trove of new allies, enemies, and treasures, information on locations like Waterdog Port, Port Matthew, and nearby islands, and 3 complete adventures comprising a whole chronicle, taking characters from 1st level all the way to 6th or 7th. This is the first big sourcebook for both games, and our 4th Kickstarter featuring the Realms of Pugmire. Like with all our Pugmire Kickstarters, you'll have access to a fully playable version of the game. Unlike previous Kickstarters, it won't be a stripped-down version of the game. Instead, we'll offer you the entire unedited manuscript over the next few weeks, so you can try everything out for yourself. In addition, we'll put up a playtest form, so you can get your feedback to me all the way up to when it goes to editing. Since I first started working in the Realms of Pugmire back in 2014, its popularity has exploded. It's been featured on high-profile websites like The Nerdist, Geek and Sundry, and Beast of War. It's been featured on YouTube channels such as The Saving Throw Show and The Gentleman Gamer. And Pugmire has since been made into an interactive audio drama, a card game, a fiction anthology, and so much more. Over the past few years, I have been blown away by the generosity of Pugmire Kickstarter backers. You've raised over $250,000 to create this diverse and interesting new tabletop role-playing world. The Pugmire community has all been immensely supportive of my world, and I knew I wanted to bring a nice big step in the Pugmire story back to Kickstarter. With your help, we can create a great support product to put into game stores. And if we fund quickly, we're planning a lot of stretch goals to really expand on Pirates of Pugmire. If this sounds like something you'd like, please pledge whatever you think is fair. And if you can, spread the word to your friends and family who might also be interested. Because everyone knows that you can't be a pirate without a curse.
Right now, Pirates of Pugmire is about 75% of the way to its funding goal, with 13 days to go. You can reserve a copy of the supplement in PDF for a $20 pledge, or snag the hardcover for a $45 pledge through June 20th, with an expected delivery date of September 2020. I gotta admit, that seems pretty far out for a game book, doesn't it? Over a year? So yeah, that's a little unusual. Little bit unusual. Pugmire is very popular. I have not had an opportunity really to take a look at the core book or anything like that. I do have to point out, I like the artwork, except maybe it's just me. Seems like the animals' heads are a little too small. That the heads should be a little bit bigger than they are. It just seems a little off to me. Maybe, maybe that's just me, but I don't know. I mean, we are talking about anthropomorphic animals. So Led Magnan has popped in, and Led has a question, which I will answer in just a few moments, which strangely enough is about Free League Publishing, and my final news piece is from Free League Publishing. That's a little coincidental, because Free League, or Free League, has released Things from the Flood in PDF, and I've got the dope. Somewhere out there beyond the Corins, beyond the fields and marshes, abandoned machines roamed like stray dogs. They wandered about impatiently, restless in the new wind sweeping through the country. They smelled something in the air, something unfamiliar. Perhaps, if we had listened closely, we would also have heard it. We may have heard the sound rising from the forgotten and sealed caverns in the depths, the muffled pounding from something trying to get out. Welcome back to the world of the loop. Things are different now. Simon Stallenhag's paintings of Swedish retro futuristic suburbia, populated by fantastic machines and strange creatures, have won global acclaim. The award-winning Tales from the Loop role-playing game was released in 2017 and lets you experience this amazing world firsthand. Now you can return to the loop in this standalone sequel game that continues the story into the 90s. But remember, this time you can die. Key features include creating unique player characters, including skills, iconic items, and relationships in mere minutes. You can dive deeper into the secrets of the loop and experience the two game settings updated to the 1990s, the Malaren Islands in Sweden and Boulder City, Nevada in the US. There are new rules for scars and death. The stakes are higher and the risks greater. Investigate mysteries and overcome trouble using fast and effective rules based on the award-winning Year Zero game engine. Play the 4 complete scenarios included, tied together into a campaign called Prophets of Pandora. The 224-page Things from the Flood is available in PDF for $24.95 from my friends over at Drive-Thru RPG. Oh yeah! So, as I always like to point out, when I do mention Drive-Thru RPG, the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope are affiliates of the One Bookshelf sites. So if you were going to be going to Drive-Thru RPG or Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Look up top for one of our Drive-Thru RPG banners or down at the bottom of the page for one of our Wargame Vault banners. And if you happen to click on the banners, if you do make a purchase, I get a very small portion of that sale. But I got to point out, all those little portions really add up and help keep the Gaming Gang around. Most months, I don't want to say commissions because that doesn't sound right, but the portions of those sales actually add up and pay for the hosting for the Gaming Gang. So pretty cool. And my hosting's not cheap. I say it time and time again. I don't have GoDaddy hosting because you can't have hundreds of thousands of people coming to your website every month on GoDaddy hosting. So that is it for the news today. So Lead Magnet had a question about what I knew about the Alien RPG coming from Freely. I have seen the quick start. It is interesting. Okay, so I'll tell you, I like the artwork. The artwork's cool. I like the artwork. One thing that I did not like right off the bat, and this is probably going to just sound weird, but the Game Master, the GM actually stands for Game Mother in the Alien role-playing game. And yes, I get it, the Alien Mother, and yes, I understand that, but Game Mother? I don't know. That just sounds odd. Just I would not run a game and say, oh, by the way, I'm the Game Mother, because people would look at me like I'm nuts. But for the most part, it looks pretty interesting. The only thing that really throws me a little bit is that what are we going to get? I mean, are we going to get a game where you always have to have aliens in it? Because I think that would pretty much run its course pretty quickly. But then again, if you think about Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood, both those game systems are not really built for long campaigns. They're built more for shorter campaigns. I wouldn't say just one-shot adventures, but, a few sessions for a campaign as opposed to something that's going to go on for years and years. It is possible that Alien will be presented that way as well. What I would like to see is a lot of the backstory, the background about that universe fleshed out. Which, of course, without talking to Ridley Scott, you're probably going to have a hard time. But I would like to see it made where it's more about the humans, right? Space Marine, what have you, whatever, than just the aliens, right? Because if you remember, the Space Marines are like on a bug hunt, right? So they're used to fighting other aliens. So anyway, Lead Magnet says campaign game is designed for longer, continuous play with the same cast. player characters over many game sessions, letting you explore the alien universe freely, sandbox style. Led, did you just cut and paste that? Looks like you just cut and pasted that. Anyway, hey, Flaming Heron's popping in. Good to see you, Flaming Heron. So yeah, those are my kind of thoughts on the Alien RPG. I gotta say, the quick start is there's quite a lot to it. It's not like most quick starts, which are maybe 25, 30 pages. There's quite a lot. It says no typos. No typos whatsoever. All right, so I am looking at the second edition of Cyberpunk 2020 tonight. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. One other thing I wanted to mention, and I find this kind of funny. I find, okay, maybe not funny. I just find it very odd. So I get emails and comments quite often saying, oh, your unboxing should only be 10 minutes long. Your unboxing should be like 5 to 10 minutes. Your review should only be like 10 minutes long. And it's sort of like, I hate that. I hate when people try to tell me what I need to do. This is a live show. People are in chat. We're chatting. We're talking about different stuff. People are chatting amongst themselves. And these people just, they comment in that. So the reason why I'm mentioning this again is the last 100 yards, which is from GMT. I did an unboxing. It's up on Board Game Geek. And somebody commented and said, hey, this is just way too long. Hour and 14 minutes is way too long for an unboxing video. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. It should be 10 minutes. I like your style. So it's kind of like, okay. So you're busting my chops and they're finishing up by saying, I like your style. So I commented back nicely. And I said, you got to realize this is a live show. This is a live show. There are people in chat. And there's news. It's not just the unboxing. And their response was, oh, I didn't know that it was a live show. Don't people pay attention? Who do people think I'm talking to when I say something like, oh, hey, Flaming Huron says, or it's like, Lead Magnet says this, you and you just said this, let me answer that question. Who do they think I'm talking to? I just find it weird. How could you not watch this and not know it's a live show? I don't get it. So, anywho, it's funny. It's so many people, well, not so many. It's a tiny, tiny minority of people, really. But I get a kick out of how, there are people, and this is all of fandom. This isn't just gaming. There are people out there who think, the way I want it is the way it ought to be. That's it. Mine. Me. It's like, no. Sorry. It's not how I'm going to do the show. So Flaming Heron says, hey, I've seen people do what I assume is a review and it's 5 minutes. I'm like, WTF? How can that be enough? I agree. I'm right with you, Flaming Heron. No, there's no way. You can't do a review of a game in 5-10 minutes, in my opinion, and let people know what the game is about, what you thought of the game, who you think the game is for, because just because maybe I'm not real keen on a game doesn't necessarily mean that I don't see what audience it's for. Can't do that in 5-10 minutes, at least in my opinion. Just like there are way too many people who are doing unboxing videos of games and presenting them as reviews, because I have gotten comments on unboxing videos and people are like, oh, hey man, thanks for that great review. And it's sort of like, that's not a review. It's like, we just looked at what's in the box. I haven't posted my review yet. I haven't told people what I think about it yet. So yes, I'm right with you, Flaming Huron. There's no way 5 minutes is definitely not long enough for somebody to share their thoughts on a game. And if you watch the show, you follow the show, there are some folks out there who I am not. Yes, so Led says it's a review of the components. There are some folks out there who are very popular and who charge a lot of money for their Kickstarter previews and things like that I just think are useless. Or as my dad would say, as useless as tits on a bull. So you says you're right. A 5-minute review is impossible to do the game any justice. That's something else I kind of look at, because I am pals with some designers out there. And to me, just racing through a review like that, and granted, there are times, especially with war games and that, I don't get like really down into the mechanics of everything. Because to me, I think people would be bored by that. But to me, it's like these designers and writers and that, they've worked long and hard on this stuff. And for me to just, go take 5 minutes to talk about it and say, it's okay. That does nobody any good. And to me, that's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to the designers, to the publishers, and so on and so forth. So, anyway, that I just wanted to mention that. I think it's weird. How could people not know, watching this, that's a live show? Even if they skip ahead into the review or the unboxing, I'm always chatting with people in the chat, especially these days when there are people in chat. So, all right. Do want to mention, once again, I am trying to go to Origins next week. I am scheduling interviews and things along those lines. No guarantee I'm going to be going. So I do have quite a lot of games that I have reviewed or extra games that I have received that are available for sale. Got some pretty good RPGs that you'll notice passing by. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but if you are interested in purchasing any of these games, there's I think there's 18 of them left. Please visit thegaminggang.com. You'll see that there's kind of like an ad in the corner. It's on the front page. It's also on all the interior article pages too. If you want to check it out, I am using those funds to hopefully go to Origins Game Fair to help pay for some of the costs, because I am flying solo, so I have nobody splitting hotels with or anything like that. Damn you, Elliot Midler. I'm just joking. Family stuff, family commitments he's got to take care of. Because weirdly enough, Origins always schedules their show to coincide with Father's Day. So the final Sunday is Father's Day. And that's kind of weird. Although I have to point out, they used to schedule it when kids were doing their finals. So you didn't have people who were teachers and things like that going. And there are a lot of teachers who are gamers. So anyway, I do want to point out, if you go to thegaminggang.com, you'll see the games that are available. I want to mention Monday will be the last day that anybody can lay dibs on those. And I will point out, this will be the only time these games are going to be made available to followers of the show, people who go to the Gaming Gang. Otherwise, I'm just going to bring them to Gen Con for the auction. I'll just take them to Gen Con for the auction. Anyway, it's pretty good prices on stuff. So, what's that? What's that, little whiz bub? Oh, it's little whiz bub. That's right. Before we jump into Cyberpunk 2020, let me once again point out, because the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope are essentially not-for-profit endeavors. If you like the website, if you like the show, if you like the channel, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations around the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. Yes, they're waiting to find their forever homes. These animals might be a little long in the tooth, like yours truly, or maybe they have mobility issues. Maybe they require medication every day, or possibly they're deaf or blind. Regardless, these pets do deserve good homes, loving homes, and if you have ever adopted an animal from a shelter, be it special needs or not, you know already that they repay your love 100-fold. They really, really do. So, if you do make a small donation, be sure to shoot me an email. My email address is down in the corner, Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. And if you would like, I will give you a shout out on the following show. Plus, if you ever have a question or comment, or maybe there's a company you'd like me to try to take a look at some of their products, like you had asked me about, wasn't it Bloat Games? I think it was Bloat Games you had asked me about yesterday. Shoot me an email. Let me know. and I will see if I can get into contact with them. Okay, so I'm sure some folks are probably popping in because they want to check out Cyberpunk 2020 from our Talsorian Games. It's written by Mike Pondsmith, Colin Fisk, Will Moss, Scott Ruggles, Dave Friedland, and Mike Blum, with artwork provided by Doug Anderson, Justin Chin, Paolo Parente, who I had the opportunity of actually interviewing way back in the day when I lived in Arizona, and he was in Arizona from China, because he lives in China. Chris Hockabout, Sam Leo, Ricardo Crosa, Angelo Montanini, Scott Ruggles, Matteo Riznanti, and Mike Hernandez. And I'm sure I got lots of those wrong. The 256-page softcover book is available for $30 from R. Talsorian, and you can get the PDF from my friends over at DriveThruRPG for $14.99. So, we are going to pop over to the other camera over here. Let me grab a quick sip. So, first off, do want to point out, it's my understanding, well, I'm not going out on a limb or anything, but like that, but I do know our Talsorian Games is working on Cyberpunk Red. It is their new edition of the game. They're also working on the PC game, which for some reason, isn't it? I want to say it's called Cyberpunk 2047? Maybe it's 2097, something like that. So, this is the second edition. This is the most recent edition of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is probably, Cyberpunk 2020, I should say, is probably the best example of the cyberpunk genre as far as role-playing games. I know there are a lot of people who stand by Cyberpunk 2020 as saying it is the definitive cyberpunk game out there on the market. Cyberpunk doesn't have a ton of big name systems that are available. So, as we were talking about yesterday, this edition here, originally Cyberpunk came out in 1990. Then we've got 92 and 93 were the updates. So we're going to jump in here. We're going to kind of page through. As I mentioned, later on tonight, I will be posting Sammy's review. She did a review of the PDF. And so let's take a quick peek through. Because this is actually Cyberpunk 2020 version 2.0. And I think it's like another like 1.729. So if we take a quick peek through here, we've got our table of contents. View from the edge, soul in the new machine. So right off the bat, now I have not cheated. I have not cracked this open. I have not taken a peek at this. One of the aspects of this book that Sammy had a problem with, and I can certainly understand why, and taking a look at this, I can certainly understand why, is going to be the representation of women. So, keeping in mind that this book is from the 90s, you know, I'm a male, right? I'm straight male, so I can't sit there and say what makes a woman uncomfortable, what images kind of creep them out, things like that. But I can tell you right now, if I were a woman looking to play Cyberpunk, okay, that's not too terrible. I'd be like, okay, But then if I got to here, I'd be a little like, okay, what the hell's going on with this? So, anyway, so this really is a product of its time. So we're gonna flip through here. So we've got the kind of the different character classes. So we got solos, net runners, techies. But if you notice, it seems like, okay, so for an example, okay, we got this guy, supposed to be a reporter, what have you. Just, you know, regular dude dressed in regular clothes. And then all of a sudden we start seeing these women in these highly sexualized outfits. That doesn't look right. But I will I will take a guess, because I have seen the Twitter feed from our Talsorian talking about different pronouns, how people refer to themselves. You know how that's a big thing now. And I would take a wild stab in the dark that Cyberpunk Red will be a lot less sexualized as far as the female artwork. It's just a guess. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a little sexy with your role-playing game artwork. It's just when it's in poor taste, which it looks like some of this really is. See, that's okay. So we got Tales from the Street. Now, one thing I do notice here, and we saw this when we took a look at Castle Falkenstein, which Sammy has a review of that coming up too. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to link her reviews on YouTube, and I'm also going to just embed the video for the show that we've looked through the books on the reviews as well. But there's a lot of like tables, a lot of like sidebars and stuff like that we had noticed in Castle Falkenstein. Now, this is all black and white. Castle Falkenstein was in color, but these little sidebars, side boxes, things like that. So we've got basically the mechanics of the game. So we got skill checks, various different skills. We got a master skill list, skill descriptions. All right, various different skills. So it looks like we got quite a few different skills that are in this. So this is not one of these games like, say, like 5th edition, right? Where it's all grand total, what is it, about 12 skills? So we got quite a... But then again, it doesn't look like it's a basic role-playing game from Chaosium with just tons and tons of skills. Not that I have an issue with either way, either presentation, fewer or more. Just pointing out, looks like a good number of skills. So getting fitted for the future. So we've got gear. Got our weapons lists. I've always heard that this is just jam-packed with material here. And granted, there is quite a bit of artwork, but thankfully we're getting some weapon images. That's always important to me. So we've got different gears. Different kinds of gear. We got the decks for decking, hacking, jacking into the grid. Okay, putting the cyber into the punk. Forget everything you ever thought about cyborgs. Everything. So it looks as if the presentation is a little bit. I don't want to say first person, because that was one thing that kind of threw me a little bit with Castle Falkenstein, was the presentation of the game kind of like in the first person. It took some getting used to, I will say that for sure. So we've got fashion wear, neural wear, implants, how a smart gun works, chips and prices. So some of the artwork's pretty cool. Got cyber limbs. I remember reading Cyberpunk early on, so I read quite a bit of Gibson's stuff, Sterling stuff. Who else? There was one other author who did quite a bit of cyberpunk. And now it seems, I don't know, has the genre kind of faded a bit? Hey, Kabuki Kid's popping in. Good to see you, Double K. I don't see a lot of cyberpunk anymore. Way more steampunk, as far as novels. As far as, like even audiobooks, things like that. So we've got our combat tables. Talking about wounds. Body type modifier. I believe this is pretty crunchy. I believe Cyberpunk 2020 is pretty crunchy. Kabuki Kid says, watching the B-17 documentary on HBO, so I'm sort of absent in here today. That's okay. That's all right. So W says, Gibson's novels are classic. Yes. Kabuki Kid says, never was a fan of steampunk. You know what? can't say I'm a fan of steampunk either. I think one of the things is steampunk is so wide-ranging. Plus, you start getting into just little offshoots of steampunk. So, but like I said, you don't see a whole lot of cyberpunk out there anymore, as far as novels. What was that? Gosh, I didn't even check it out. I didn't watch it. It was a series on Netflix. It kind of had a cyberpunkish vibe to it. I just didn't have a chance to check it out. I heard kind of mixed reviews, where it's supposed to be this guy. He's like, I don't know if his brain is kind of jacked into a body or something, or he's been kept frozen. It's kind of supposed to be trying to solve a mystery or something. I forget. I'm sure somebody out there watched it and they're going to tell me what it is. So we still have, this is more about healing, and then trauma. Trauma Team Inc. Body sculpting. Drugs. Question, what's a cyberpunk game without drugs? Answer, a lot healthier. Ba-dum-bumps. So then we've got, see, once again, that's a little too sexualized in my opinion. Like I said, if I were a female gamer, I probably wouldn't not be comfortable with that. So, which I'm a little surprised that with this game still being produced, that, there you go. Thank you, Kabuki Kid. Altered Carbon. Yes, thank you. Did you watch it? Was it any good? I know you're watching that B-17 documentary, but I'm kind of curious. Because I need something to binge watch. I just finished Good Omens, and I finished Doom Patrol, and I started watching Swamp Thing, and then I hear it got canceled, which I guess a lot of people are very upset that it's only going to get one season. But funny enough, as I switch gears here, I had heard that when Swamp Thing was in production, that it was in trouble and they were trying to shorten up the number of episodes. So I don't know. So Flaming Huron says, well, book-wise, they still produce books for Shadowrun. Right. I'm not talking about role-playing games. There's still a good amount of cyberpunk role-playing games, which I don't really consider Shadowrun to be cyberpunk. That's more kind of like fantasy punk. And it's getting a new edition. In fact, as weird as this sounds, because Catalyst Game Labs and I have never had a good relationship, I am going to try to see if I can talk to somebody over at Catalyst. Hopefully not the guy I interviewed way back in the day at Origins, because it was like watching paint dry. You'd ask him a question and you got a one-word answer. I'm like, you do understand how an interview works, right? It's not an interrogation, dude. But they do have their starter set is coming out at Origins, so I wouldn't mind checking that out. Because, I'm always up for giving a company another chance, right? Why not? Because a lot of times, especially these days, we see people moving all over from one company to another company and things like that. In fact, I already saw that Yellow Games has somebody new that I'm going to talk to. Renegade Game Studios has somebody new that I'm going to talk to. Ares Games, I'm going to talk to Olivia Long, which I've talked to her dad, I've interviewed. And I've also interviewed her sister. And now she's the new press person. So Flaming Huron says, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Shadowrun novel-wise. Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's as close to getting cyberpunk without being purely human-centric. Actually, I remember when Shadowrun first came out, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. The mechanics I wasn't that big a fan on, but yeah, I thought the setting was super, super cool. And then it was another game that's like, how much can we beat this horse? Same thing with BattleTech. It was the same kind of thing with BattleTech. BattleTech was very, very cool. And then Catalyst got their hands... Well, okay, I'll take that back. FASA beat the hell out of it, too, out of that horse. So, it's like anything. Even, old D&D, same thing. There's so much stuff coming out for it. Okay, so we've got. Oh, now we're into the net, right? Yep. There's just a lot of stuff going on in this. It doesn't make it bad. Like I said, everybody's over the years, I've always heard that Cyberpunk is the go-to as far as a if you want Cyberpunk 2020, I should say, is the go-to game if you want a Cyberpunk RPG. So here we go. So kind of hacking in. All right, what else we got? Oh, hey, we got crosswords. Cool. Let's start messing around with the crossword puzzles. Does the rulebook have an appendix and list of stories and novels that inspired it? I don't know. We're going to find out. I would take a guess, probably. So you had William Gibson. You had Bruce Sterling. Who else do we got out there who were cyberpunk, mainly cyberpunk novelists? Because I know Gibson doesn't write cyberpunk stuff anymore. I think Gibson mainly writes kind of like mysteries and that now. All things dark and cyberpunk. Oh, so we get a history. That's cool. Legal backgrounds, talking about the cops. Got the weapons, vehicles, information services. Oh, here we go. This is cool. I like this. Running cyberpunk. So we go about 107 or 186 pages in. And then we get into the, here we go, here's a bibliography we were just talking about. And we get into kind of the GM. Walter John Williams, that's who I was trying to think of. Who, if anybody out there actually remembers the Wildcard novels. Yes, I know the Wildcard novels are back. I remember reading them when they originally were coming out. Loved that shared world. Walter John Williams was one of the authors that was part of Wildcards. So you're right. So William Gibson, Walter John Williams, there's Bruce Sterling. I am not familiar with the other authors on here, but there you go. That's kind of our Appendix N. Filmography. Never Fade Away. Is this an adventure? Let's take a look. Or maybe this is just... Oh, this is some flavor, some fiction here. I gotta point out, I'm never like really big on most role-playing games fiction. I don't know, just a little bit is okay. But there's been books that open up and it's like 25 pages and it's like, if I wanted to read this, I'd want a novel. Okay, can we get into the game actually? So here it looks like we've got an adventure. Well, maybe not. So we got the Mega Corpse, corporate life, running everything. I like EBM. Back in the day, IBM was huge. See, one of the things I find interesting is how many companies when I was younger that were just huge companies are like completely gone. Xerox, Texas Instruments are two prime examples. Kodak now is pretty much gone, but that's because of cell phones and nobody uses film anymore. So, but companies like Texas Instruments and Xerox went the way of the dodo because they were one of the companies that were just like, oh, well, we don't have to do anything different. We're doing fine. Where I actually spent my career in business. And yes, Max Headroom was that was one of the shows that it was showing there in the inspirations. But I was always the firm belief that if it ain't broke, break it. Always continue to be redefining what you're doing. So we've got more flavor here, more background. Booster gangs. Looks like this is all kind of presented like news reports. This sort of reminds me a little bit, some of the artwork is reminding me a little bit of Car Wars in some ways. Night City Today. What was that? Sports? Yep, back from the penalty box. Oh, so here we go. We've got some scenarios here. Let's look more along the lines of almost, just really short one-shots. So this is our third scenario, fourth scenario. Well, at least we got a few different little adventures in here. These are more like nuggets than anything else. All right, so we got 10 scenarios, and we got our player character sheet here. 2 sides. This looks like this might be for NPCs. For doing your... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, adventure hooks. A little more detailed than adventure hooks, I think. So, but yeah, we'll say adventure hooks. Looks like these might be for NPCs, and then cyber decks. So, for your hackers decks. So, Flaming Huron says, well, hope the CDPR game and the Cyberpunk Red brings people back to the setting. Yeah, I always dug Cyberpunk. I always enjoyed... Well, I especially enjoyed Sterling and Gibson's stuff. So, that is what we find when we page through Cyberpunk 2020, the second edition from our Talsorian Games. As I mentioned before, the 256-page softcover book is available for $30. And you can get the PDF from Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99. So I will have Sammy's review up later on tonight. I will kind of let you know she does not give it a great score. And I will be the first to admit she submitted her first review to me and I read it, and then she gave it a pretty damn high score. But reading her review, I was like, I can't see how you're giving it this score. So she realized, yeah, she should probably take it more from a personal point of view, because just the way I read her review that she submitted to me, the underlying score shouldn't have been as high as it was. So to kind of give you an idea, game-wise, mechanic-wise, she likes the system. She would give it a good score. The sexualized artwork and the fact that the PDF is just a scan of this book and not a fantastic scan at that, brings the score way down. But you should really definitely check out her review and her thoughts, because I really dig where she's coming from. So anyway, that'll be on up on the website a little later on tonight. So tomorrow's show is probably going to be pretty short. I'm going to do an unboxing. We're going to take a look at Smash Up, the international, World Tour International Incident. So that'll be on tomorrow's show. I was going to do 2 unboxings. I was going to do Shy Pluto. I don't have Space Base. But, so what I might do is I might see if AEG is at Origins. They weren't last year, although I did interview John Zinzer there. So he was wheeling and dealing. But then again, it gets kind of tough. Like, for people to find videos on YouTube when I have more than one game that I'm covering. So the algorithm doesn't work all that well. So we're going to take a look at Smash Up, the new expansion, tomorrow. And of course, I will have the latest tabletop gaming news, and we'll probably chat a bit if anybody's hanging out. So that is it for tonight's show. As I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please go visit thegaminggang.com for latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Everybody who hung out in chat, thank you very much for hanging out. We should have some newer RPG stuff coming down the pike. And, of course, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. And everybody who's watching after the fact, of course, I definitely appreciate you tuning in. See you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.